Hello and welcome. You're watching Global Lens from the CNBC-TV18 Prime Ionic Wealth Studio with me, Parikshit Luthra. These are the top global headlines. America's top trade envoy, Jamieson Greer, tells the US Senate that offers from India are the best they've received yet, and the Indian government has been forward-leaning. Also adds that India has been a tough nut to crack and there is resistance over certain crops. Elon Musk's SpaceX is planning to go public in 2026. The company is likely to raise $30 billion at a valuation of $1.5 trillion. Global markets trade lower as attention turns to the US Federal Reserve's policy decision. Later tonight, the Fed is widely expected to cut rates by 25 basis points. But a CNBC Fed survey shows sentiment is split. Only 45% of respondents believe the Fed should cut rates, a sharp contrast to earlier surveys. Top U.S. trade officials, Deputy USTR Rick Switzer and Assistant USTR Brendan Lynch, are in New Delhi for another round of bilateral trade talks. The Indian side is being represented by Joint Secretary Darpan Jain. This is U.S. government's second visit to India since President Donald Trump imposed a 25% duty and an additional 25% penalty on Indian imports over New Delhi's purchase of Russian oil. The MEA said that India and the US remain engaged, negotiating a fair, balanced and mutually beneficial deal, though challenges remain, particularly on arriving at a common average tariff level. In response to the Senate, America's top trade envoy, Jamieson Greer, said that offers from India are the best they've received yet, and the Indian government has been forward-leaning. However, he added that India has been a tough nut to crack and there is resistance over certain row crops. Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri has also met Rick Switzer. In a post on X, the MEA said the discussions covered strong India-US economic and technology partnerships, ongoing trade talks and opportunities to boost two-way trade and resilient supply chains. Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said talks with the US were making steady progress, but emphasized that trade negotiations have many moving parts and cannot be tied to deadlines.
यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका की टीम मंगलवार से भारत में है और उनके साथ बातचीत निरंतर प्रगति कर रही है। बायलैटरल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट की तरफ हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं। आई एम होपिंग टू रीच बैक दिल्ली टुनाइट and I have parliamentary duties also, so we'll try to see if I can take out some time and have a meeting with them later in the evening, because tomorrow again I'm in Mumbai for the Italian Deputy Prime Minister. All agreements, all discussions have many diverse, many different angles, many dots have to be connected, and we never negotiate deals with deadlines. Thank you.
We're now joined by Mukesh Aghi, President and CEO at US-India Strategic Partnership Forum. Mr. Aghi, we've already missed the fall deadline and now we're nearing the end of December. Do you really feel that the deal is in sight right now? Is it close to us?
Well, you have to understand, Parikshit, that the process has changed in Washington, D.C. as far as who makes the decision. And what we are seeing is that every key decision goes to the president, and then he decides how to take this forward. In the US-India trade deal perspective, we have seen multiple times the cabinet rank secretaries have recommended a deal with India, but it has been pushed back or the goalpost has moved in a different direction. So at the moment, as our understanding goes, there is a recommendation from the USTR, from the Commerce Secretary and others, that this is the best deal India has put forward, and it's time to move forward. And I think everybody is waiting for the president to take a call so we can close the chapter here.
Right. Now, how do you read Jamieson Greer's testimony to the Senate Appropriations Committee? He was responding to a question where he said that, yes, we have been trying to get access to the Indian agriculture and dairy market. India has been a tough nut to crack when it comes to certain row crops. But at the same time, India has been forward-leaning. They've given us one of the best offers we've ever got as a country, and they remain a viable alternative for the US economy. Do you feel that even in this final stretch, the US is now pushing for access to India's agriculture market? Because many believe here that what Donald Trump said with regard to additional tariffs on rice, and now this statement by Jamieson Greer, may put a bit of a spanner in the works.
Well, every nation is going to drive a treaty which favors them. In the case of US, the focus is to get access to the Indian agriculture market is vis-a-vis what's happening with China. China is the biggest buyer of India's soybean and corn, and that has been a tough negotiation there, and Chinese just agreed to buy it. So they're looking for alternate market. From India's perspective, you have to understand that that market is closed. It's a red line for India because you have almost 50% of the labor force working in the agriculture market, generating approximately 15% of GDP. So it is in the interest of Indian government to protect the interest of the farmers, to protect the local agriculture market. And you have to understand agriculture is also national security. So you can't basically let a aspect of economy exposed to issues which could have an impact not only just on inflation but on national security of the country. So I think the government in India is taking a position that that's a red line, and we will not move from that perspective.
Right. I would also like to ask you that from the industry, from the US industry, clearly there is, because of the tariffs, there has been an impact on India's exports to the US. But from the point of view of an industry chamber, what's your hope from the trade negotiations and the average tariff rate that we should arrive at?
Well, when you look at the exports from India to the US on the tariff category, yes, they are down. We looked at the data, but also the non-tariff category, they're also down. So that shows one is that the US economy is basically, or the consumer is spending less. They are feeling the impact of tariff. We can see that in grocery stores. We can see that in regular stores. The costs have gone up. And that issue of affordability is coming into the politics of the United States. When you look at one of the main reasons Mamdani won in the city of New York was on the issue of affordability. And so I think that's where you look at the president now going to Pennsylvania tomorrow for a rally to talk about affordability. So I think tariffs are impacting the consumer itself. So from that perspective, I would say that the slowdown is going to impact not only just India, but rest of the world, because US will import less and less itself.
Right. I would also like to ask you that going forward, how will the movement of skilled professionals from India to the US also be impacted, Mr. Aghi? Because, you know, the US State Department has now put out an advisory saying that we earlier were conducting an online presence review of all students and exchange visa applicants in the F, M and J non-immigrant classifications. Beginning December 15, we are expanding online presence review to all specialty occupation, temporary worker, H-1B visa applications and their dependents in the H-4 case. In every case, we will take the time necessary to ensure an applicant does not pose a risk to the safety and security of the US. How do you think this is going to have a spiraling effect on visa applicants?
Well, you have to understand that every nation would like to protect its borders. And, you know, in the case of skilled professionals, especially in H-1B, we have seen certain cases of abuse happening. And the whole effort is to basically avoid that abuse. You have to understand that we have a shortage of skilled professionals in US. US needs to basically import a large number of skilled professionals in every category. And these skilled professionals are contributing to the local economy. If you look at 60% of the AI startups today have some kind of an Indian component. Almost 75% of the startups in the US will have some kind of a Indian component. So I think you can't basically say, hey, you don't need skilled workers, but I think you need skilled workers who can contribute. And the whole process is to avoid the gaming of the system or the abuse of the system itself.
Right. My final question to you, Mr. Aghi, and it's coming back to the delegation of Rick Switzer and Brendan Lynch who are here right now. The Ministry of External Affairs, when asked about this, called this a familiarization visit. Their sense was that Rick Switzer has been recently appointed. He's coming to meet people. The expectations from this visit seem to be low. What really are they seeking to achieve this time around?
Well, obviously, you have basically newly appointed leadership within the government in the U.S. They are coming to learn, educate themselves, and give feedback. But I have to come back to your first question as to how will this impact the trade deal? You have to understand, you have one person who will make a decision. Both the government of India, its diplomatic corps, its trade negotiators have put the best foot forward, giving one of the best deals to the U.S. And it's not just about tariff. I think it's also about politics, global geopolitics also. So from that perspective, I think we can keep on fine-tuning the trade deal, but until the president takes a call, nothing is going to move forward. And we're hoping that we're able to convince the president to close the chapter and move forward, because the relationship between India and the U.S. is not just about trade deal. It's much bigger, much broader. And I think we need to pay attention to the other aspect of the relationship, the geopolitics, the technology, and people to people itself. So I would say that hopefully we expect the trade deal to close in the near future and look forward to a very strong relationship between India and the U.S.
Right. Thank you very much, Mr. Aghi, for joining us on the program, making it also very clear and helping our viewers understand that the work on the trade deal is now done. And perhaps the answer to it is now what happens in the White House, whether Donald Trump signs on the dotted line or not in the days to come. Of course, the word is that the deal has gone to him several times in the past, as you've also said on Global Lens earlier. Thank you once again for being with us. Moving on and getting you other news from around the world, Palestinians brace for intense flash floods, strong winds and hail throughout Palestine, including the war-torn Gaza. Officials have warned that hundreds of thousands of displaced people are at risk because their shelters are weak and crowded. Meanwhile, Israeli military conducted raids across West Bank last night and this morning, arresting nearly 100 Palestinians. Ukrainian President Zelensky has said that its government is ready to hold elections within 3 months. However, the Ukrainian leader maintained that the United States and Kyiv's other allies must ensure the security of the voting process. This comes after US President Donald Trump suggested that the Ukrainian government was using the war with Russia as an excuse to avoid elections. Remember, wartime elections are forbidden under Ukrainian law, and Zelensky's term in office as the country's elected president expired last year. The US has told Thailand and Cambodia to stop hostilities immediately as border clashes extended for a third day. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio said that the two nations must follow de-escalatory measures outlined in a peace accord brokered by US President Trump in October. Trump has also said that he would make a phone call to stop the fighting. 7 people from Cambodia and 3 from Thailand have died during the clashes. Both countries have blamed each other for reigniting the fighting. Japan has scrambled jets to monitor Russian and Chinese Air Force conducting joint patrols around the country amid rising tensions between Tokyo and Beijing. The Japanese Defense Ministry said that 2 Russian Tu-95 nuclear-capable strategic bombers rendezvoused with 2 Chinese H-6 bombers flying near the East China Sea. The bombers, along with 4 more Chinese jets, then made a round-trip flight near Japan's Okinawa Prefecture. Japan also said it detected simultaneous Russian Air Force activity in the Sea of Japan. The United States has made a fresh commitment of $1.25 billion in Exim Bank financing for a mine in Pakistan's Balochistan. In a social media post, U.S. representatives have said that the U.S.-Pakistan partnership will drive economic growth in Balochistan. The post added that this could be a game changer for U.S. businesses and local Pakistani communities. The trade deal between US and Indonesia might be falling apart. According to Financial Times, US officials are of the view that Jakarta is going back on the terms of the trade agreement. The report highlighted that US Trade Representative Jamieson Greer believes Indonesia was backtracking on several commitments it had made. Indonesian officials are not agreeing to some binding commitments made in the deal and have communicated that to the USTR. SpaceX is eyeing a $30 billion initial public offering in 2026. If successful, this would be the biggest listing ever. Bloomberg has reported that the Elon Musk-led company is targeting a valuation of about $1.5 trillion for the entire company. That would leave the SpaceX near the market valuation of $29 billion that Saudi Aramco achieved during its record 2019 listing. Time for a short break, but don't go anywhere. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Oman, one of India's oldest strategic partners. Issa Saleh Alshiban, Oman's ambassador to India, decodes the possible outcomes from the visit on the other side. Welcome back to Global Lens. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to visit Oman along with other key nations in West Asia in a major outreach. The visit comes nearly 2 years after Oman's Sultan's first state visit to New Delhi and is expected to further strengthen bilateral ties. Oman is not only one of India's oldest strategic partners in the oil-rich region, but also a key economic partner. According to Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, India and Oman are exploring a free trade agreement. Bilateral trade between the two nations rose to over $10 billion in FY25, making Oman India's 28th largest trading partner in that fiscal. To take this forward, I'm now joined by Issa Saleh Alshiban, Ambassador of Oman to India. Thank you very much for joining us on the show today, Ambassador. Let me begin by asking you, what are the big expectations from Prime Minister Modi's visit to Oman, and how will it open up new avenues of cooperation?
Well, it's, I think, a very important visit and very strategic one, and it is between countries who have shared history, friendship for a very long time now. And, likewise, when His Majesty visited India in 2023, the relationship has been elevated to strategic relationship. So the expectation for this visit also to get very high momentum, and it will, of course, support the relationship between the two countries.
There is a lot of hope among Indian exporters that the FTA with Oman will be signed during the Prime Minister's visit to the country this month. Could you confirm if the deal will be indeed finalized during the high-level visit?
So I think is where the stakeholders over there, the departments between the two countries, are working in it. I don't have information with regards to the signing during the visit, but the latest news that it has come out that the negotiation term and rounds has been concluded. So hopefully there will be some good news sometime soon.
How satisfied is Oman with the progress in trade talks?
Well, I'm sure both countries are satisfied. The CEPA agreement has been included and announced during His Majesty's visit. It has been on the vision documents between the two countries, and where it has also been giving the momentum and the support that negotiation should start and concluded in a very short time span.
How will this FTA between India and Oman open up trade and help both the countries?
Well, absolutely. Usually FTA will come as a platform to facilitate trade, and I'm sure, and to overcome so much of challenges that countries usually face in terms of bilateral trade. So as with any other FTA or a CEPA, where such conclusion of agreement will boost.
Ambassador, which are also the areas where Indian exporters could get more access to the Oman market?
Well, Oman is, has been for very long where energy really a dominant sector, but under the vision of 2040, where the country has set a plan to diversify economy. Sectors would be like green hydrogen, IT, logistics. There are, some of the very important sectors that Oman is really looking to enhance. Oman is well positioned as well in terms of either geographical location or relationships between the neighborhood and wider market, either in the GCC, Middle East, or Africa.
And which would be the areas in India where Oman would be seeking greater market access?
Well, Oman has been, for now many years is looking into being one of the leaders in terms of green hydrogen industry. It has been where the government provided support in terms of developing the technology and seeing production by 2030, and I think there is for us being in India for a few years now, where we see that the energy is a high demand. Manufacturing, of course, is one area that we think is either in terms of renewables or in terms of logistics, in terms of supply chain, where we have seen an increase and a need for this as well to be developed.
And how would you describe the priorities during the upcoming Suhar Investment Forum in Oman? And what are the kind of investments, the sectors from where you would want to attract investments from India?
So Suhar is the Suhar Forum is a progressive event. It has been, this is the second or third time where it's held, and I think is where this time the focus is on sectors. The investors who will be participating will be given the opportunity to see on the ground some of the projects that have been accomplished, but also will be where the Suhar Authority will be announcing some of the opportunities, talking about the incentives. And Suhar is a very beautiful coastal city. Sectors we are looking into are manufacturing, logistics, energy-related, renewables, as well as we think that Oman has abundance of very beautiful locations. So tourism is one of the key investment as well.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Alshibani, for joining us on the show. That's a wrap on another edition of Global Lens. Goodbye and many thanks for watching.